you want to
religion, even politics, but it does have to directly relate.
And like from where do we derive ethics? That's not unnecessary. Questioning the presuppositions behind your worldview.
Ethics is when you're talking about ethics.
Except you guys, and you direct every single portion of this, and you use your.
Well, no,
how does this work?
listen.
I'm not sure how this works. You
Okay,
say,
well, listen.
You say you
well,
want
listen.
to debate.
We
You're
can
not letting
explain.
me finish. You're not letting me finish. You say you want to debate about ethics, yet actually defining how we and you derive truth, or truths about ethics, and how we can decide what is ethically right or wrong, or what's morally right or wrong. We can't discuss that. That's derailing.
Okay, one second. What I don't want to do is get into the meta where we start talking about the conversation. I want to ask Jay, because Jay knows philosophy. Do you follow the point that I just said?
As I understand you want to stick to the topic of the ethicality of whether or not eating meat is justified. And that would justification suggests epistemology, right? So in other words, you don't want to talk about how we justify claims. You want to talk about whether or not eating meat itself is justified or not, correct?
Kind of close, right? So there's 3 tiers of ethics. You obviously know this. Tristan, do you know the 3 tiers?
What are the 3 tiers of ethics, Isaac?
Yeah. So no, I'm not trying to condescend to you. I don't know a whole lot about philosophy. I'm not formally trained. But the 3 tiers are meta ethics, normative ethics, and applied ethics. Meta ethics is when you're talking about ethics itself. So that's questions from above, things you can ask about ethics. Does it have to be consistent or not? Is it objective or subjective? Real, anti-real? Is it particular or is it general, right? Normative ethics, those are questions of what we define good to be. So, consequentialism defines, or, you could have utilitarianism. You define good as that which generates utility, however utility is defined in the system. You could have good as that which maximizes rights if you're a deontologist. And then applied ethics, that's specific issues like veganism, abortion, stem cell research, international affairs. So my point that I made right at the start was that I don't want to get derailed into a conversation about meta ethics, which when you want to talk.
So you don't want to. You don't want us to question.
Please.
I mean, how long are you gonna go? How long are you gonna go? You get like a 30-minute opening statement.
I just laid out the groundwork for my point, and then when I went to deliver the point, you cut me off. So we have these different tiers, right? So what you were trying to do right at the start was talk about the grounding for ethics,
Absolutely.
which I'm sure. And would Jay agree with me that that is a question of meta ethics?
It is. No, but
yes. Well, just let me finish the point, and then you guys can go crazy. Okay.
Okay.
So the question of grounding is orthogonal to the question of whether your normative ethics are logically consistent. What I want to talk about.
You only want to talk about whether our ethics are
consistent.
So what you want to do is you want to talk about whether our ethics are logically consistent. So you just want to question us on our ethics. That just sounds like such a boring conversation.
You can do the same thing to us.
You can do, yeah.
But also, I mean, without actually talking about how do we derive, like from where do we derive ethics? That's not unnecessary. Questioning the presuppositions behind your worldview.
In the context of this debate, it is completely unnecessary.
In the context of the debate that you want, that's not the conversation I care about.
You already agree with the debate topic.
Let me ask you a question.
Let's all let everyone talk. Yeah, let's just slow down.
What if my philosophical approach to the world and to these issues does not believe that meta ethics is orthogonal, that it's a different line of reasoning? What if I see that as intimately undergirding how I would reason about as well?
Well, I would need an argument for that, but I'd also want to clearly formulate what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the question of grounding is orthogonal to the question of whether the system is internally consistent. That is my claim.
Yeah, but I don't believe that. I believe that that's not true.
Okay, could you provide your reasoning?
Well, I come from a school of philosophy that specifically denies that. It believes that all of anything that you say about the world, anything that you claim to know about the world, or anything in general, any knowledge claim, any proposition, cannot be divorced from the overall paradigm or system from which you're operating. To me, it seems.
So, which I would say that. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. It's fine.
I was just going to say that's exactly what I'm getting at. It's like, how can we divorce the two? How can you divorce bigger picture epistemology and where we're coming from and how we define ethics, right, wrong, good, bad, how can we have a conversation and have it mean anything without actually getting to the base of that?
Here's another thing that you might disagree with. Like, I come from the position that, for example, ethics isn't and can't be really divorced from something epistemological or metaphysical. So, for example, if you say, I believe that veganism is, ethically the only justified position. Okay, that's not just an ethical claim. It also necessarily entails propositions and beliefs related to metaphysics and epistemology. You're claiming to know this. You're claiming, that you, I, right? It assumes a self, a subject. It assumes, distinctions in the world relationship between animals and humans, right? All this kind of stuff, because it's in other words, it's unavoidable. I mean, if you want to have a position where you say that it is distinct, I think that breaks down really easily and really quickly.
Okay, so if I make a claim that says X is ethical and X is not ethical, you would agree that that's a logical contradiction, right?
Yeah, typically speaking, unless it's a question about fundamental paradigms, that would be the violation of the law of non-contradiction.
Yeah, well, the question of fundamental paradigms, I mean, it's a statement of, it would be a statement of applied ethics, or if I was talking about at the level of what the normative rules there, it could be a statement of normative ethics. But the statement X, if I say P and not P, if I say it is true that X is ethical, it is not true that X is ethical, that is a contradiction. And the fact that is a contradiction is not contingent on how you ground ethics. It's just contingent on logic.
It is, and it's okay. You're right, except in certain cases when you're asking about the ethicality of ethics itself, which are meta-level questions which transcend normative applications of logic.
Okay, but I want
that's important because it relates to how any claim is grounded.
Yeah. So my question is, can you explain to me how? Give me an example where the statement it is true that X is ethical, it is not true that X is ethical, somehow becomes not a contradiction, and that the thing that makes it not a contradiction comes from metaethics.
When you ask about the ethicality of that proposition itself, that becomes a meta-ethical, meta-logical question.
So the statement, you would say that there is a case where the statement X is ethical and X is not ethical is not a contradiction?
Correct.
Okay, can you spell out that case for me?
When it relates to how you justify logic itself, it becomes a circular issue. So even though it's not a contradiction, it is circular. But not everything circular is a contradiction. Sometimes there are logical paradoxes that are not contradiction.
But the statement is a direct contradiction. The statement is P and not P. The only thing, but just to be clear, Jay, the only thing that you need to assume for that to be a contradiction is logic. The subject matter wouldn't even matter. It could be about ethics. It could be about the house existing. It doesn't matter. If I'm saying P and
this is an old problem in philosophy. Yeah. It's related to the paradox sentence. This sentence is false. Okay, that's a contradiction. The Greeks talked about this. I'm just saying there are specific cases when you're talking about very fundamental paradigm issues, like how do we know that logic is logical, right? You can't avoid circularity in certain cases, and you're given an example which in logic, when the history of philosophy, is known as a unique case. There are, generally speaking, you're right. Generally speaking, it is true. But if I ask you the question, how do you know logic is logical? How do you know words mean without using words? You can't do it, right? So there is at every point in a system a fundamental circularity at the bottom, and that's crucial for the way that I argue or look at the world or deal with any kind of question like this. So for me, I'm not going to be able to talk about the ethics of veganism or killing animals without the existence of God.
Okay, one sec. So we have some serious major disagreement there. So are
you familiar with the Gödel sentence, right? There's such a thing as Gödel sentence.
I don't know all the details. I know the liar paradox, and I know when you can take sentences that seem superficially contradictory and then resolve the contradiction. Like if you have the current king of France is bald, the current king of France is not bald, you can resolve those by adding another element to the sentence. But what I'm talking about is a bit different than this, right? What I'm talking about is that any statement of the form P and not P is contradictory, and that relies solely on the assumption that logic is true or valid.
Yeah, and I just told you that you're right when you said any statement except in certain cases like what I'm talking about. So it's not any statement.
Well, wait. So can you explain to me what the case is where P and not P is not a contradiction?
Yeah. So, for example, the sophists asked Aristotle this question in the Metaphysics. They said, okay, so the law of non-contradiction, how do we know that the law of non-contradiction itself is logical? That's a transcendental meta level question.
Yeah, but assuming that you have logic in place, any
Correct.
any statement of the form P, and you presumably have logic in place for your worldview, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So if you make a statement P and not P, you're contradicting yourself.
Correct.
Okay. Yes.
Except in cases where logic itself is in question, and I'm going to question your logic itself.
Wait. But the question is, what my initial point was in this debate is that the issue of grounding for ethics, so whether it comes from some objective source, whether it comes from a subjective source, that's orthogonal to the point that
It's not.
It's the only thing that's necessary for P and not P to be a contradiction is logic. You don't need any meta-ethical assumptions there.
Actually, yes, you do. You do because
sorry.
the question assumes that you should be logical, correct? So that's an ethical. That's an ethical
Sorry,
aspect.
can
of
I
logic.
just hold things up for a second, Tristan?
Yeah.
A lot of people are complaining about the kids in the background. Could you switch your mic to push to talk?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
I know you guys hate
yeah.
babies. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't hate babies. Yeah. So I understand that if you say, well, we're going to question logic itself. Yeah. If you don't have logic in place, you can't make the statement that something is contradictory. But my point was that assuming logic, the statement P.
Yeah.
and
Why
not
should
P-
we assume logic in your worldview?
Wait,
Why should we assume logic?
No. But what? 1 second. You're trying to derail into a conversation about presuppositionalism, right?
No, I would
That's-
disagree. I would disagree
What-
that that's a
what-
derail.
no,
Why
it
is it a
is.
derail to actually question
I didn't.
where you?
I didn't agree to not talk about how we ground.
You're the one. You're the ones who are
ethical
saying
logic.
that we can't talk about this. This is the only thing that interests me. I mean, how are we? You want to just have a hypothetical conversation about name the trade or something? That bores the shit out of me. Why don't we talk
okay,
about?
Well, I
Okay, well, look, to me, it sounds like Jay is trying to use God sort of as an excuse for killing animals. Like that's basically what he's trying to get behind.
Well, look,
Not an
if you were to
excuse,
if you
but
were
I'm
to
gonna
name
say that my-
if you were to
yeah.
name the trait, you were to try to play your name the trait game, which it seems like that's what you guys wish to do is do the name the trait.
Sure.
If you do that, and we say from our worldview that the trait that would allow you to eat animals but not eat humans is that humans are made in the image of God. There's no contradiction there.
That's fine.
But
It
I don't
doesn't
have.
to be
But the thing is, it just
Yeah,
bores
we
me. I've
agree.
seen you guys do this
Yeah.
debate
Wait.
before. I've seen you do
wait.
this.
We'll
debate.
give
Go
you
ahead.
that point. We'll
Well, look,
give
that's
you-
fine. We can argue against that point if
No,
you want to use God.
Just, no, but
What-
we don't even. What
no,
I'm
no,
saying is,
no,
why even get there? Why don't we start at the basic level and actually?
Because we don't have to.
One-
It
one-
just derails the whole
Well,
conversation.
it derails
sec-
it. You
one
think it
second.
derails it because
Okay,
it makes your
wait,
point
wait.
because it makes your point look absurd.
Wait.
You say it derails it.
Whoa, no. 1 second. This is the initial point, right? You wanted to talk about grounding, which is an issue of metaethics. Okay, I want to talk about whether your normative system is consistent, and if your applied ethics stay consistent with that normative system. That's the kind of thing I want to talk about: is consistency within your framework.
Yeah, but
So when
let me ask you a question.
come on, wait a second. When I say grounding is orthogonal to whether your system is consistent, we're meta-ethical grounding, right? For Jay to respond to that by saying, well, you're assuming logic. Logic isn't a question of meta-ethics. Logic is
Yes, it is.
whether we should accept logic. Would you not consider the grounding
Would you-
for logic?
how,
come
well,
from
how can you say
metaphysics?
someone?
How is that
How can you
meta-ethics?
say we should accept logic? Like where
Yes.
where is it implied that we should accept?
That's
your
an
logic?
ethical imperative.
1 second. This is the core point, right? The issue of whether the statement P and not P is a contradiction, that what your meta ethics are, that's irrelevant to that statement, right?
No, it's not. That's an
Okay,
assumption
then-
that a lot of people make, but it's not.
Okay, so I would like you to show me what the case is where a meta-ethical assumption causes that to become not a contradiction.
Right. Well, the question is about whether or not ethics assumes metaphysics and logic.
No, it's not. No,
Yes, it is.
No,
That's what I'm arguing. I'm telling you
No.
that when you say that you should abide by the law of non-contradiction, should is an imperative. It's a moral claim. You should believe this.
Yes.
And
Okay,
also
so when you say logic, when you say logical claims have a force of truth behind them, that assumes that people should follow the line of reasoning. They should follow the truth. That's an ethical assumption. Now, you might try to argue that there's a system where you can have logic that's abstract, that people don't have to follow, shouldn't follow the truth. But that's once again, even still, an ethical claim about your logic.
In order to say that there is a case where P and not P is not a contradiction, you have to question logic, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Logic, that's not a question of meta-ethics.
It's related to it, and it directly applies to it.
Wait a second. Now you're changing. Now it's just related to it. If it's not a question of meta-ethics, my point stands.
Well, I can qualify my statement without it being a contradiction, and I'd say yes. So if you ask a question about meta logic, it's not directly a statement about meta ethics, but it necessarily implies meta ethics.
Okay, but the problem is what you want to say here is that the issue of grounding, that somehow affects whether the statement is a contradiction or not. All that's required for the statement to be a contradiction,
in some cases, yes.
All that's required for the statement to be a contradiction is logic.
In most cases, but not all.
Okay, show me the case where you have logic in place and P and not P is not a contradiction.
I just gave you multiple examples where there's a paradox at the level of paradigms.
Okay, but I want the case where P and not P is when you're going to say that's not a contradiction, and this isn't
a paradox. Is not a contradiction.
A paradox. So okay, sorry, This
is classic philosophy. Okay, if you study philosophy, you'll learn that there's cases where you can have a contradiction. Okay, so for example, Bertrand Russell, who I don't like at all, he talks about this in his Logic. He talks about situations where in logic you can have something that is a paradox, like the liar sentence, right? This sentence is false.
Sure.
Technically, that's not a contradiction. Now you might say, what does that have to do with what we're talking about? Because it relates to ultimate circularity at the grounding points of our belief system. And I'm telling you that there are situations where, for example, the sophists, right? They debate with Aristotle, right? Aristotle's using logic, and the sophists come to him in the metaphysics, and they say, well, what if I don't believe in the law of non-contradiction? How do you get me to accept that itself? And you say this doesn't matter. Why does this matter? I used it in the debate with JF because JF says I don't accept the law of non-contradiction. I don't accept your logical laws binding me. And I'm saying that you can go that route, but it's completely self-destructive. And there's nothing wrong with asking a question about meta ethics and meta logic. And I can give you multiple examples of where you can make an epistemological claim, an ethical claim, and it relates directly to metaphysics. And you want it to be divided off from the rest of those things so that you don't have to answer hard questions.
No, it does relate to metaphysics. It doesn't relate to meta-ethics.
It does relate to ethics. This is a stupid assumption that people make who are naive when it comes to philosophy.
No.
Let me ask you a question.
Your mic still isn't on push to talk. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Did you hear
if
us?
somebody
Your
says
mic isn't
something's
on push
true,
to talk.
you believe there's a force behind it that some kind of force that people should accept it, right? Something that's logically true and consistent should be accepted. That's ethics, dude. Should.
I hear you making a normative claim, but saying this is a contradiction with respect to logic doesn't even require me stating my position on whether I accept that people should be
logical. If something's a contradiction, you're assuming people shouldn't believe it. Should and shouldn't are ethical claims.
No, I'm not making a should statement. I'm saying given that I'm saying that given a assumption of logic on any view that assumes logic, P and not P is a contradiction. And the question of assuming logic is a question of metaphysics, not a question of meta-ethics.
You're not listening to what I'm saying. Should people avoid contradictions?
You're trying to get me to make a should statement. My claim is that given the
if there's no force behind your logic, if people shouldn't accept your logic, then you have no argument.
You're trying to get him to say a different statement. He just asked you a question that was not a should statement.
Yeah, my
He
statement.
rephrased it to where he doesn't have to have any ethical force behind his logic.
Well-
but every ethical system assumes that you should accept the logic of it.
Whoa, wait, no. If you're going to call a rephrase, I want the original statement and the rephrase.
No, I don't. I'm not here
Okay,
to be
so
a
wait, no, take
retrans.
Okay, no. Then take that off the table. If you're not providing evidence for it, don't tell me I rephrased.
He didn't rephrase.
You did rephrase.
No,
Okay,
he
then provide.
should
No, wait.
provide
Provide
the-
evidence.
You said, look, you're saying that there's nothing ethical about a logical system. Like you can apply logic and that it doesn't relate to meta ethics and it doesn't relate to any shoulds or shouldn't, right? And
That's
you
not
rephrase that to
precisely
say
my claim. My
Dude, this is
claim,
ridiculous.
my claim is that the question of whether your normative system is logically consistent does not hinge on meta ethics. It hinges on
it
logic.
does.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
then
what
give
you
an
can't
example.
just-
There's no such. I've given you multiple examples. There's no such thing as pure logic that doesn't also necessitate and include and imply ethics.
You're talking. What you're trying to do.
No.
Is,
Okay, you're trying to
No, that's
actually.
true.
No, you're creating a straw man essentially. You're actually the examples you provided required the should statement. Isaac wasn't asking you a
Yeah,
question.
him
it had a should
avoiding
statement.
the use of the word should is irrelevant. That's not the
No, it
point
is.
because
It's
he's still
directly
assuming the
irrelevant.
same thing.
You're
It's-
creating a completely different argument that he's not making.
Yeah. So my claim.
If your logic has does your logic have epistemic force behind it?
This is the thing. You keep trying to talk about my logic and my position when my claim
because
is
you have a worldview.
when my claim is simply that a system that the question of whether your normative ethics are consistent does not hinge on meta ethics. It hinges on logic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I'm
that's not
telling
a
you
should
that that's
statement.
wrong because logic also is directly related to meta ethics, and you can't have one without the other.
Okay, and
I'm
provide
disputing
an
that.
example of that where that doesn't require. a
I'm
should
giving you an
statement.
example because any logical claim assumes that you have to accept it, that it's true, that truthfulness carries with it the force of you having to accept it. You're supposed to.
I see exactly what you're trying to
Should
do.
people
there,
accept true claims? Should people accept true claims and avoid false claims?
No, I'm not going to take the bait and make a
Yeah,
should
because
statement.
that shows how stupid your argument is. Because you're
No.
fucking retarded. That's why.
No, it shows that
You're
I'm
cre- you're-
seeing it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, listen, you're making a completely different question that Isaac
It's
isn't
not.
asking. It is completely different.
No, it is not.
It is. You're trying to.
He's saying,
You're
he's saying it's
no,
not connected.
You're
I'm
trying
saying it is.
to.
I give you an example, and you say it's not that. It's different. It's different.
No,
It's
he's
not different.
asking. No, he's asked. No, he's basically telling you. He's telling you that logic does not require meta ethics.
And I'm saying it
making a
does.
question. You're creating a completely different question about logic, whether or not you should follow it. That's a completely different
Yes.
question
Yes.
than whether or not
Yeah,
how else-
whether or not logic
how else
requires
would you
meta
argue
ethics.
that-
Completely
that you-
different.
that there's- How else would you argue that logical claims entail ethics? How else would you?
Wait. The claim that you should be logical, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the claim that given the assumption of logic, P and not P is a contradiction, right? So if I say the question of whether your normative ethics are logically consistent does not hinge on meta ethics, for you to then try to say, well, no, logic.
Yeah, but I
is-
never
soy
agreed
boys are getting
to
bigger.
your founding premise that we're not going to talk about meta ethics and meta logic. So you
No,
wanted
I'm
that
not-
because
you're just-
no,
that doesn't
that's
matter.
also that's also not my position. I didn't say that we should never talk about meta ethics. I said that we should only talk about anything other than the direct ethical questions we're interested in. that pertain-
Anything
except the area where I'm going to get got. Yeah, exactly.
anything except
If
the
it-
presuppositions.
Anything
if-
but this, because this
if
is the key
it's-
issue.
Yeah.
No. If it actually pertains, right? So if you can show me that an ethical claim that you're making hinges on your meta ethics, that's a different thing. But
Yeah.
what I want, see, we're not even getting into the debate because you guys aren't agreeing to basic framing, right? And the framing
Yeah,
is
I'm
the
not
fact.
going to let you frame the debate. That's called poisoning the well.
That's
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 fine.
your
We-
whole
we
game.
just-
That's
that-
your whole game. Is you
no,
guys frame
no,
the debate. You guys frame it as you want it. You guys never concede that you lose any single point, and you've got it all mapped out. And you've got a Discord server full of like 2,000 soy
no,
nerds
I'm-
over there pecking away for you. It's
That's not
fucking
an argument.
ridiculous.
That's not an argument. Yeah, that's not an argument. And
No, it's
I
not.
am
It's not
happy-
an argument.
I'm-
It's just a
I'm
statement.
happy- I'm
It's an
happy to
objectively
spend-
true
I'm
statement.
Happy. I'm happy to spend the entire time here just wrecking you guys on this claim. 'cause
You
this
can
is
spend
wrong.
the entire time going in circles. You can
No,
spend the
listen,
entire
so-
time
No, no,
going
no,
in
no.
circles and denying what we're trying to say, and denying that you can see the contradictions in what you're saying, but you're getting smashed, dude.
Look,
No,
if your
the cla-
beliefs on animal ethics, how animals should be treated, whether or not they should be killed or not, hinges on a meta-ethical position, that's fine. We can discuss it.
Correct.
But the problem right now is you're essentially straw manning Isaac. He's
I'm
trying
not.
to point out that explain it again. Like
The
logic
issue-
doesn't
the-
require meta-ethics.
Wait,
Yeah.
1 second.
Okay, I'm saying it does.
Wait. He's doing a shady thing there. What he's doing is he's saying the notion that you should accept logic, which once you bring a should in, now there's an ethical component. What I'm saying is simply
That's not being
that
shady, dude. That's called analyzing an
is.
argument.
No, it is.
shifting the ground.
If you
so
think that's
shady to
shady, you're
analyze the
fucking
argument.
retards.
It's
What-
so
what-
shady
shifting
to
the
analyze
ground.
the argument.
Analyzing the argument
No,
and
listen.
listen for shoulds and oughts. That's
Well-
basic ethics. The history of philosophy is
No,
all about
no.
shoulds and
Listen.
oughts.
Okay.
He's not creating a should argument or a should question. Isaac is
I
just
know that.
simply stating.
Dude, you're not even following
Then
the
why
argument.
are you reframing his fucking question?
Yeah,
Because
you
it
should
doesn't matter about
statement.
what word you use, whether you put the should in there or you put
It does.
something
It
He's not
completely
reframing the
changes the
question.
meaning
He's
of the
simply
statement.
stating what you guys are actually doing, and you're so triggered and butthurt, and the brain seems so soy clogged that you don't understand what he's actually showing you. Because if you were to admit it and concede it, your little soy argument would just crumble. It would just melt like soy ice cream.
Okay,
No,
so
listen.
I didn't hear any argument there. I heard narrative and ad homs. What were you saying, Richard?
Okay, so Isaac is claiming that you don't need so logic
let me
itself
be
does not
clear.
require
Let-
meta
let me-
We've
ethics.
established that. We've established
Wait. Let me be clear about my claim. My claim is that the question of whether your normative ethics are logically consistent,
right.
that does not hinge on your meta ethics.
And we don't agree with that. Okay, so we don't agree on that point.
So we're going to hash it out, right?
Right.
So the question of whether, given logic, the statement P and not P is a contradiction. That's not a question of meta ethics. It's not.
It
The
is.
question of whether
it's
you.
not whether or
I,
not
under-
you should.
I understand that you don't think that it is, and I'm telling you that there's a way that I argue that I make when I do analysis, I look at systems as a whole. And so, in my view, and I know you don't believe this, but I'm telling you my perspective. My perspective is that knowledge, epistemology, and ethics are intimately bound up together, and there's no way to like separate them. You can't have an ethical claim that doesn't assume metaphysics and ethics or epistemology. You can't have an epistemological claim that doesn't assume ethics and metaphysics. That's my view. Now, I know we disagree on this point, and you say, how can you believe that? What are your examples? And I'm just simply saying that anytime you make any kind of ethical claim, I don't care whether it's normative or whether it's about meta ethics, it's going to assume these two other branches of philosophy. So again, it's not that difficult of an argument. It's a very simple claim. I know that doesn't mean that you accept it. You don't think it's true,
Well,
but
you're-
it's a simple view.
You're saying different kinds of things here, right? So when you
No,
say
I'm not.
when you say something like ethical claims hinge on logic, or there's base assumptions, like, you probably taught,
Right.
Whenever you make any state, like, I get the precept shtick, okay? I wreck presuppers
It's not a
constantly.
shtick.
It's not
Yeah,
a shtick,
no,
and
it's-
just,
it's-
and
you're
just
not gonna wreck
claiming,
it.
just claiming that you can wreck it doesn't make it so.
How about instead of cutting me off so that the only thing I've said is that I wreck precept all the time,
How about
you
it?
let me
How
actually
about it?
make my argument.
How about
That's
it?
not
How
an
about I
argument.
do?
That's not an argument.
How
That's
about
not
I
an
do it?
argument. Okay,
How
that's
about
not
I
an
do it?
argument. That
Alright.
is not an argument.
How about I
That's
do
not
it?
an argument.
How about it?
Yeah, not an argument.
How about
It's not an argument. Okay.
Alright, how
Yeah,
about
so
it?
it's not an argument.
Right on.
Yeah,
How about
it's
it?
not an
How about
argument.
it? How many
No,
times will
not
you do
an
this? How many
argument.
times will the soy boat repeat? How about it? How about it?
It's
How about
just
it?
not an argument.
We got a soy boat NPC number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, rebooted.
It still doesn't become an argument.
Okay, look, Isaac is
so-
pointing out that you don't need meta ethics logic does
know.
not hinge on meta
We've
ethics. And
established that,
when,
right.
when you argue against that point, you're just asking the question, well, should we rely on logic, which is an ethical question. Isaac is not making an ethical statement.
He
just
is, whether he wants to or
claiming-
not, he is.
He wants
No,
to bypass. He wants to
no.
bypass that.
I know he
and let
doesn't
us
want
all-
to,
He
but
wants
he-
to
How is he
bypass
making-
it. And let
okay,
us all
well,
assume
okay,
what
Do you
he
understand entailment? Do you understand necessary
Okay,
entailment?
well, just explain why does that statement that he's making
I've explained
that
it like
logic
10
does
times.
not hinge
I've
on
explained
meta-
it like 10 times, and you guys.
No,
are
you
like,
haven't. All you've done is strawman his position essentially. So just explain.
You're just declaring it by
explain.
royal soy decree that it's fucking that it's
That's great. Yeah, soy jokes. Okay. So explain how logic hinges on
Let's-
metaethics.
wait. No, I want the claim. No, I
There's
want
two-
my claim to
there's
be.
two ways
I want
to-
my claim to be clear. I'm sorry. I want my claim to be clear. My claim is that the consistency of your ethical system does not hinge on metaethics. It hinges on logic.
I know, and I'm saying that I don't accept that.
Yeah, but
Whether we should follow logic is a completely different question.
Yes.
over
Yeah.
You want us
whether
to
or not
assume that we
logic
should. You
and
want us
logic
to assume
hinges
that
on
we should.
metaethics.
You want us to assume that we should follow your logic.
Okay,
jump
no,
right
no,
into
it.
Jay,
No.
wait, Jay.
do
You guys are atheists. You got,
wait a second.
it's a
Wait.
world of naturalistic materialism. Why
wait.
should we follow this supposed invariant
No.
immaterial concept called logic? Why should we?
Okay, wait.
Why should
Jay
we bow
has
to
just
the
said.
God of
Completely
logic?
different state. That's a
Oh,
completely different statement than what Isaac is making.
We need to
I
talk.
know it is. I'm asking a different question.
Okay, but I'm not letting you shift the topic, right? So what you just said, you said something that is completely incoherent. Okay, you said that the question of
Dude, you can't even get your arguments out. What do you mean I'm incoherent?
Oh my
you're fine.
God, let him talk.
Well, how about you let me spell out the incoherency? You just said that two
Come on, Jay.
things
Let him
are
talk
the
for
same.
40 minutes.
You just said that two things are the same question. Those two things were: should you be logical, and does the consistency of your ethical system hinge on something other than logic? Those are just simply not the same question, and no logician will tell you those are the same question. It's a false statement, Jay.
Okay, two questions can be asked about the same topic that relate to the same issue. Okay, so that doesn't mean that.
They can
if they
relate,
relate,
but that doesn't make it the same
okay,
thing.
so wait, so Jay has now put multiple claims on the table that he hasn't retracted. He claimed that I rephrased. He provided no evidence, and now he has backed off. No, wait, now he has backed off. He's backed off the claim that these are the same question, and now they're just related.
No.
So will you acknowledge? Wait, will you
Nice
acknowledge
framing.
that you
Way to
backed?
frame it
will you
again, bro.
acknowledge?
Great
Will you
framing,
acknowledge?
dude.
I'm not
will you
acknowledging
acknowledge-
anything because this is
Wait,
hard to do.
will you acknowledge that you just shifted from a claim that the statements are the same to a claim that they relate? Please.
No, you
Okay.
you can
so you're
ask.
just not going to be honest.
You don't even let me
No,
get two
dude,
words in.
That's ad hominem, dude. That's ad hominem.
Ad
I
hom,
provide-
bro.
First
Straw
of
man, bro. Straw man. Ad hom, bro.
First of all, you can ask a question about something, a proposition, a belief, whatever, in different ways, and it be essentially the same question. So just because I ask a question about ethics or a question about metaphysics, I'm ultimately relating it back to the fact that I believe that all three of these realms are absolutely interconnected and you can't divide them. If I talk about something distinct from something else, that doesn't mean it's a different claim. It doesn't mean that it's completely unrelated. It might be. I'm asking you, I'm trying to convey to you that knowledge, epistemology, and ethics are all interconnected. And anytime you make a claim about any one of them, you're assuming the other two. I know you don't believe that, but do you understand what I'm saying?
The problem is you haven't actually provided a valid example for that.
I'm giving
when
you
Isaac is-
multiple simple examples.
No, you haven't.
Wait,
You've
wait a
created
second.
completely. No,
wait.
you haven't.
No. Look,
Wait, Richard, you're falling into his thing a little bit.
Yeah.
it's not a trap,
he's-
dude. It's,
Wait,
dude, this is what- if you take a philosophy 101 course, you're going to learn these three branches of philosophy. It's not a fucking trap, dude.
No. The trap is reframing what I'm saying as a claim that epistemology, metaphysics, and logic.
An hour saying I disagree with your initial claim. Why can't you just accept that?
No, is the initial claim that I disagreed with that metaphysics, logic, and epistemology are connected? Are you going to claim that?
You are hashing over nonsense. You
No,
are
that's what I'm-
picking out
This is how they
terms
do
to
it.
hash
been-
over.
This is how they do every debate.
This is why
They
you
have a
can't get
whole-
anywhere.
They have a whole
Wait.
team. They desperately want everybody to take them seriously, but they don't even take their own position seriously enough to be consistent within it.
Okay,
It's so
you know what?
ridiculous. It's so
You know what I
absurd.
think would? Okay, you know what I think would be good right now. I think
It's not even
both
entertaining.
sides. No, I think both sides should just make closing statements on this one topic, and then maybe we could move a
And
bit
then we all
forward. I know-
assume, and then we
Wait,
all jump
wait,
into
wait.
your little
You
frame
you know,
game, and we all make
I
sure
just see
it's-
it not going anywhere. They're not willing to concede that
Yeah.
they're wrong on this point and that they're reframing.
No, I'm not gonna concede to
Richard,
people-
you 1 second, Richard. You can't do that. If you do that, then there's so many bad moves that are open to them. You
Oh,
have to.
no.
No. 1 second. If they try to say that somehow the consistency of their normative frame hinges on meta ethics, we're going to spend the whole time discussing grounding, and that's irrelevant to whether their system is consistent.
It's
Now-
not, you dummy. I just spent an hour and a half trying to explain to you how it's not.
Okay.
Good God, dude. What is wrong with you? Like, you have some kind of mental issue. Like,
Wait,
something
Jay,
is wrong up here.
Jay, you've made false claims. Okay, you've made multiple
No,
claims.
I nailed you on it. I nailed you on it. I nailed you on it. You didn't know what you were talking about. And now
I am
you're
still
freaking
trying to
out,
talk
losing
about
your
it.
shit.
I'm still trying to talk about the exact same thing. Okay, so first of all, it's worth acknowledging that you've made multiple claims that you are not backing off.
No.
You claim that I rephrased something. You didn't provide evidence for it. You claim that two questions are the same and then switch to they're related, and you won't.
Are you
acknowledge
reading
that.
this directly off of your Discord? Are you reading this from your Discord, or are you actually
That's not,
yeah,
coming
an
up with
argument.
this?
It's not an argument.
Okay,
That's not
so
an
you
argument.
are. So you
It's
are
not an
reading it
argument.
right
It's
off your
not an
Discord.
argument.
That's really cute.
No, it's
How
not-
many people
no,
do you
it's
guys
not-
have in your Discord?
not
How do
an
you
argument.
how do you guys join the
This
Solar?
is like debating a 18-year-old who's taking philosophy 101.
Do you care to? That's not an argument. So the
not an
point. So
Yeah, you're not worthy of arguments. You've already shown yourself unworthy of actual
Okay,
argumentation.
that's not an argument. So
I know it's not.
yeah, okay, good. So then maybe stop doing it. Okay, so you've made two false claims
No.
there. You won't back off. Okay, well, how about Can we?
You're,
at
you're
least let each
fundamentally
other talk?
retarded and contradicting yourself at a
We
fundamental level.
Can we?
Because
let
you
each other
can't
talk?
justify any of your views at all. You can't justify any of your ethical claims or moral claims. You can't
But
justify
let's
anything
just
about
forget that. Let's
epistemology
just
or
move past that.
metaphysics.
Let's just assume that I
And that's
can.
what I'm here to show you.
Let's just assume that I
Okay.
can. Let's forget that and move past it, and we'll frame
No,
the argument. We'll play
there's
name
no-
the trait. Let's play
No,
name
there's
the trait.
there's no assume and forget about it. You're not getting off of it. You Tristan,
I'm not getting
you
away from
o-
anything. You're not going to.
Wait, you opened this debate with a claim, and I have been trying to force concession on the same claim for this entire time.
Nobody's
You
gonna
want to
concede
hinge
to
your
you.
whole.
Talking to you.
You want to hinge your whole position
No.
on presupposed
Nobody's
metaphysical
going to
claims.
anything to
You want to
No, no, I'm not. I don't have to presuppose anything for me.
You're
You do.
presupposing logic.
You do. That's the point of
presupposing
debate.
logic.
You do.
I understand that in order for me to make claims about logic, I have to presuppose something. But the point
That's what I want to debate.
No, okay.
No, you don't want to.
No,
But that's what I want to
no one disagrees on that. It's not the question though, right? So what
It is
Tristan
for
said-
me. It is for me.
Okay. So
It's
the
not the
question
question
for
for
you
you.
is not the So the question for you is not the objection that I presented to Tristan's point. Okay, so you're saying something that's irrelevant to what I'm talking about. What Tristan said at the very start of the debate, he tried to say that I pointed out that the consistency of his normative system does not hinge on his meta ethics. Okay, it hinges
It
on
does.
logic. It hinges on logic. The only thing necessary.
And logic is
What
not divorced from that, dummy. How many times have I say it?
Wait, but what you're doing is you're saying that the separate question of whether you should
separate.
accept the
Not
separate question.
separate.
Okay, so so I just want you on the record that the two questions, should you accept logic and does the consistency of your normative framework hinge on meta ethics, are the same question. Will you just affirm that so that you're on the record saying something incredibly stupid?
No, there are two ways of speaking about the same issue.
Oh, so they're not the same thing. Yeah, so they're not the same thing, are they?
They're asking the same question in different ways.
No, they aren't. They are asking two separate
Yes, they
questions.
are. You're too
Okay,
fucking
so-
dumb to realize it, dude.
All right, so I will bet you $1,000 that those are not the same question and that I can get multiple PhDs in logic to affirm that. Will
Oh,
you
so
take
then
my-
you get to appeal
That's
to
you
authority.
know what that is?
Appeal
dude?
to
You know what that
authority,
is?
bro.
That's called an appeal to
I,
authority.
no, I did not claim that my.
Appeal
Wait,
to
I did
authority.
not.
That's
say
called
that-
an appeal to
what-
authority.
Okay, so you just want to shout that at me.
Appeal to
Okay,
authority.
so wait.
No, I've seen you do this on your
the-
Twitter.
the-
You claim that you can get PhDs in logic to back you up. That's fucking
absolutely.
retarded, dude.
Anyone who has a PhD in logic is going to tell you that those are not the same.
Dude,
questions.
I studied logic in grad school. You haven't studied anything in
Okay,
grad school.
and are you? No, I haven't. But
So you're
I'm-
gonna
you
so
don't
you're gonna start
study that
appeal, you want to
PUBG.
appeal to authority. We
So-
can appeal to authority all
no,
day.
no.
I have
What
more
I-
authority
what
here
I-
than you if you wanna do that.
I did not claim that what I'm saying is true by virtue of an authority affirming it. I just offered you a bet. You're saying those are the same sentence.
Why are
when-
you? That's a,
He didn't
so
say
you're
those are the
bringing
same sentence. He
you're
said
losing the
they're
debate.
not
Bringing
the
that in. That's
They're
why
not
you're
the
bringing that in because you're fucking
No.
losing the debate. You got to rely
No,
on
let-
some PhD professor somewhere.
let me give you the framing, right? What we
No,
are.
we're not doing this because you already did it. You already did this for 2 fucking hours. You
Okay,
framed
okay.
it, and I said I disagree with it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you don't want to interact with what's being said, then we can stop. I guess.
That's what you're gonna frame it as now. You're so good. Hey man, you should be on fucking television, man. This is
It's not an
beautiful.
Okay,
You
Tristan,
should be on fucking
like,
TV. dude.
seriously, no, seriously,
It's not an
Tristan.
argument.
At this point, if
Uh-huh.
you keep like just saying stupid shit that doesn't even relate to the argument,
I thought
I'm
that
just
was
going to
pretty
mute
fucking
you until
funny.
you have something
I thought that was pretty funny.
that's actually
You can
new.
mute me,
And-
but I'm
and-
streaming it on my
and-
stream.
can
And
mute
to,
me.
to,
That's
keep,
good.
to keep things fair, if he ends up muting Tristan, I will stop talking and let you talk to Jay. But what I want to say, I can recap everything that's happened. So we opened up this
Go ahead,
debate
do that
with-
again.
No, I don't need
Yeah.
you to recap,
So-
dude. I don't need you to recap. We've
no,
already.
no, I
I've
don't,
already
no,
dis-
I don't
You're
care if you
disingenuous,
want the
dude.
recap. I care about if the audience
can
have a
follows.
real debate. We
No,
we
what
could
I
have a
care-
real debate if you wanted to.
Yeah, wait.
You don't want-
What I care about is if the audience follows and is going to be able to look
No,
up
what
the
you care about
timestamps.
is your audience and seeing you
No.
as perceived winner. That's all you care
No,
about. You're not.
no,
You're not
that's
interested
just
in
an
what's
It's
true.
not
It's
about
just an
real
add-on.
debate. It's
It's
about
just an add-on.
framing, and it's about how you're
It's just an
perceived.
add-on.
It's about
as a
framing
game.
the
It's just an
narrative. That's
add-on.
why you started
It's
out
just an
poisoning the
add-on.
well.
That's just an add-on.
It's a
Okay.
game.
No, what I want when I say that I'll recap, the reason that I will do that is because I would like it to be on the record exactly what's been said, and for people to be able to cross-check that with timestamps.
How
and
fucking
affirm
dumb
that
are
I'm
you?
correct.
It's being recorded. It's on the record. You don't have to recap.
Dude,
Yeah,
nobody's
you can
taking
rewind
you
it.
this.
What-
How many
Nobody's
times do you want to
taking you
reframe it and
serious.
recap it?
Well, no. There's no.
Nobody's taking you that
Okay,
serious to
so-
timestamp
so-
shit except your 23
Okay, so I just want to be
Oh,
clear.
man.
Are you guys saying that you are just not interested in hearing what I'm saying? You just don't
We've
want to
heard
hear my
what you
No,
said
you've
so
already-
many
no,
times,
I'm
and
not.
you're-
You've already shown yourself to be a retard. I'm not interested. No.
We've showed you
Okay, well,
several times how you're fucking refuting yourself.
Okay. Well then, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I've talked more than Richard. I'll let Richard talk. If you don't want to hear, wait. I'd like to close off what I've said before passing it to Richard.
I'm sure you
So
would.
what-
Should close it
Yeah.
off one more
And
time.
why-
Long as you can. Long as you can. Hurry up.
Listen,
I
listen.
really
look,
would
look,
like-
everyone,
yeah.
everyone, quiet. Why don't we let Isaac close off what he said? If you guys want to close off what you said, you can. And then how about we just kind of move forward from there?
Move
Yeah,
forward
I just
to
want
what?
to state.
Move forward to what?
I just want to state, though, you're welcome to move forward with them. I won't be moving forward if we can't get agreement on the basics, because the further stuff we're going to talk about will hinge on this.
So what do you
But I
want
will
us
make.
to agree with, Isaac?
You know what?
Okay.
What do you want us
They're
to
not
agree
going
with?
to concede. They're not going to concede on any position.
Mm,
So, like, literally, unless you want this debate to, like, literally be a circle where you just keep straw manning you, essentially, I think we should just move
Well,
on.
I just want to clarify exactly what's said here. All right. So the
Yeah,
debate
sure.
opened up with Tristan suggesting that in some way. So I criticized him because he.
Hey, why do you have to restate what we've already restated 30 times?
He's going to
Because I want-
reframe it in his own
we
little
already
game. He's
went
got to
over
play the
this.
frame
Look,
game
we
again.
already went over this.
Because I
Isaac is
want to be
gonna
clear.
Isaac is just gonna make a closing statement on this one.
Hey, you guys can go after me. Talk for as long as you want.
Yeah.
So, what the debate opened up with Tristan trying to talk about grounding. Okay, and my point was that the question of grounding, meta-ethical grounding, is orthogonal to the question of whether his system is logically consistent. Okay, so Jay has made two false claims three technically, but two that he won't back off of. So one of those is that I reframed something I said. He has not provided evidence for that. The other, now I've actually forgotten the other. But what the ultimate? Oh yeah, no, I remember the other. So the other was that the two statements So the two statements of whether we should accept logic and the statement that the consistency of your normative ethics doesn't hinge on your meta ethics are not the same statement. So those are two false claims Jay has made. And then the overall point here is that what he is trying to do is he's trying to say that the question of whether your normative ethics are logically consistent somehow hinges on meta ethics. And the way he does that is by saying logic, the question of whether you should accept logic is a meta ethical question. But I have not made statements about whether you should accept logic. What I have said is that given logic, you can say that any statement of the form P and not P is a logical contradiction. So all that's required there is logic.
We've already established that within the first minute. I realized what you were saying when you started this bullshit. You should accept the logical system. You don't want it to be that.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
I'm
It
not-
does. It
No,
does.
I'm not saying that
It logically entails it whether you want it to or not. Do you not
No.
grasp that?
No, I'm not saying that you should,
They'll-
right? My
I
claim
know
is
that
just-
you don't want
Okay,
it to.
listen,
I'm saying
no,
that
well,
the
no.
logic presupposes that it does.
Well,
My-
Jay,
my-
Jay,
and
Jay,
that's
let me
why
ask
my-
you a question.
Hey,
Let me ask you a
if we don't
question.
have to accept logical systems, if there's no should, then you have no argument. Your
No,
logic
Jay,
doesn't
Jay,
have any
let
force.
me ask you a question. Well, Jay, let me ask you a question. Is whether or not something is logical and whether or not you should follow a logical system, aren't those two different things? Like something can be
That's a good
logical
way to put it,
or
sure.
illogical, but it doesn't mean you have to follow along that logic. Those are two different things. So you
A
can't
person,
conflate the two.
right. A person can choose not to. right? They
Yeah.
can choose not to believe something that's logical, right? But
Sure.
that's different from the question of whether logic itself carries the force of that you're supposed to accept it, right?
Okay,
Yes,
so
it
you
is,
understand
but we're
my
not
position.
making we're
Wait,
not
one
making that
second.
position right now.
Okay,
So you agree.
hold on,
that
hold
was
on.
That was him
So,
affirming
so
my
if that's
position
your
right there.
if that's your position, then your logic has no force, and I don't have to accept any of it.
No, wait. My claim is that the question of whether the thing in that we're
You're just
talking about here,
restating the claim we already know about, dude.
yeah, no, but you're trying to
You
talk
have
around the
to
claim.
you have to
You're-
argue
you're-
that your
yeah.
logical claims have force.
No, the question of whether a claim is logically consistent is not the same as a claim about whether we should accept logic.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
know,
All of that.
and I'm saying
Okay.
that meta logic and meta ethics is asking the question about whether we should accept those
Okay,
logical claims.
well, wait.
right?
Now that you're accepting that, we might be able to get somewhere here, right? So you
But you're,
understand.
dude, if you're entering into a debate, then you're assuming that everybody's going to accept your argument and should
No,
accept your
that's a
argument. That's
shady
the
move.
point.
That's
That's how
super shady.
debates work, dude.
How is that
No,
shady?
okay.
How is that shady? Explain
No,
how that's shady.
It's not shady. That's the fucking point.
Let Isaac.
It's shady because you're trying to shift my claim into a should claim.
I'm
just like
showing
we
It is a
discussed
should
in the
claim.
debate.
It is a should claim.
No,
in
it
the very
isn't.
beginning.
No,
No,
it isn't.
You want to
can't
word
conflate
it?
the
You think
two.
you can play
If we
word
don't have
games?
to accept logic, there's no debate.
Hey,
Like,
Tristan,
these
can-
are two different. These are two different sets of arguments. Whether something is logical or
relate.
not, and whether
It
we
doesn't matter if they're
should
different
follow
because
logic,
you
those are
debating
two different
assumes it.
things. Those are two different things. So I think we agree here.
So
Isaac,
I don't have to accept your arguments.
Well, we can go
But
on
you
from
can have
there.
a perfectly beautiful logical system that I don't have to accept. That is fucking retarded.
Okay.
Well,
so-
no, it's
it's like
not.
no,
Something
it
can
is.
be
It is.
perfectly
Because then you
logical,
wanna-
and
you
you
wanna
don't want
make-
to follow it for whatever
you wanna
reason.
make-
okay,
your
wait.
whole-
Wait.
That's
The
because you have to follow logic. You have
The
to.
way-
It's a should. You have to.
the way that you tried to force the point that the consistency of your ethical system is a question of meta ethics was by saying that I am making a claim that you should accept logic. That is not the claim that I've made.
You're
The
assuming
claim that the claim that I have made.
Guess
is that-
what, dummy? If you don't assume that, if you don't expect us to accept your logic, then you don't have an argument. You can't debate.
Exactly.
Debate assumes that you have to accept logic and arguments.
No, we can continue debating from there. The topic of contention right now is that you can't conflate something being logical or not, or whether something you should follow that logical
Correct.
system.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So that's
And
the
I'm
topic
saying
of
that
contention.
when we
From
go
there,
your-
we can start to
when we
argue
go
whether
with
you
your
should
view-
follow logic.
When we go with your view, right, you're confusing the ought of whether or not something has logical force with whether or not people in their own psychological makeup choose to. That's two different questions. Everybody has to follow logic. Everybody has to follow the rules and regimentation of
Not
argumentation.
vegans. Not vegans.
That's no. Okay, look. I think you agree with us now, and you're trying to make it seem like you're not agreeing.
No.
Whether something is logical or not doesn't hinge on meta ethics.
Yes, and
it
whether,
does.
whether you should follow logic is
You
a
have
meta-ethical
to.
question.
You have to follow logic, and you're telling me that
No,
no, you don't
whether
really have
is-
to, because I can construct a perfect system that's logical, but it doesn't have any binding force behind it.
Okay,
That
okay.
undercuts your position.
Okay, tell
Yeah.
me if you agree with this. Whether something is logical or not does not hinge on meta ethics, but whether or not you should follow logic is a meta ethical question.
Right.
that true?
When you believe that something
is that
logical,
true? It's a yes or no question. Is what I just said
No, it's
true? Do
not.
you agree with that?
No, it's not.
Okay,
because
so
you
explain.
can talk. Listen. You can talk about something in two different ways, and you can talk about something logically entailing something else, and that does not mean that they're not talking about the same topic or related to the same issue, right? So if you say that logical systems have a binding force to them, then that assumes ethics. That's my view.
I'm
right?
not saying that a
No, I
logical
know you
system
don't
has a binding force behind it. I'm
You
just
have to
asking
say
you
that.
simply.
My point is that you
No,
have
I
to say
don't.
that.
I don't
You do.
have to
Uh,
say that. Look,
Wait,
then you
wait,
have
can
no
we-
argument.
let's
Then you have no
flesh
argument.
out this point. Let's flesh out this point. Jay, why does his argumentation, and for it to stand, why does he have to accept that and claim that?
All debate, all logic, all argumentation assumes that
No.
you should accept the truth,
That-
the veracity, the flow of the argument. It assumes that you should. Even if you don't want it to, you don't believe that should happen, you're supposed to. That's how logic works. That's how truth works. That's what it means to justify a claim. Everybody should accept this. Everybody should go along with what's true. It's presupposed in debate itself. If you don't believe that, you can't debate.
Right. And if you don't believe
Nobody's
if you don't
nobody's
believe
bound
in,
to accept anything.
if you don't believe anything outside of the physical, you don't believe that there is truth, that there is logic, that there is reason,
Correct.
that there is
There's
thought,
no such thing as truth.
that there is
Okay,
coherence.
There's no truth.
I think I know where you're both going with this. You're saying God or some supernatural entity governs
Ultimately,
logic, or
Oh,
okay.
Absolutely.
don't-
Yes, logos.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Logic,
so-
reason.
okay,
So it's
so
so dumb to go down that road without clearing this point.
No,
up,
no, no,
but
no,
we
no,
can
no.
do it.
You don't want to go down that road
No, the
because
only
you
thing
know
dumb
that
here
that's
is
what
you- No, no, no.
dismantles
Okay,
your
you
dumb
and your
position.
philosophy 101,
Because
dude.
you make metaphysical objective claims, but you claim you're morally subjective.
You're
Okay,
trying to.
I understand.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
look,
fine.
I understand where you guys are coming from, but we do really have to clarify this position. You're trying to conflate these two statements here.
Yes.
What we're saying is
It's not
that
conflated.
you are conflating it, and I'll explain how you're doing it. We're saying that logic does not have to have any connection with meta.
Wait,
something
With
can be
truth,
logical.
logic doesn't
I know.
need to
No,
connect
listen,
with truth.
listen.
I know
Don't
you're
cut
saying
me
that.
off. Don't cut
I
me
know
off,
you're saying
please. Logic. Okay, so logic doesn't have to have a metaphysical driving force behind it. Something can
Wait,
be
it does.
logical without
Wait.
you having to follow along
All
that
right,
logic.
explain how something can be logical
Yeah,
without there
okay.
being an objective truth that will justify logic and
Wait,
make it coherent.
One second. What Richard is saying is generally right. It's just the framing that you say it with
Oh,
is
no.
a little bit weird.
Wait.
So
Okay.
the core point, right? There is a difference between the statements that you should be logical and whether this position is consistent is a question of logic and not a question of meta ethics, right?
Should people follow? Should people be consistent?
Okay, so you don't want to. The thing is,
Should people
Jay,
be consistent?
the
Should
thing
people
is-
be consistent?
The thing is, Jay,
This is how you're
you-
trying to
Should people
conflate
be
things.
consistent?
No, I won't answer that because you're shifting the topic.
Then you've lost the
thing-
debate.
Your whole
No,
debate,
no,
your whole
no.
debate tactic
No,
is to
lost
make
the
us
debate.
appear inconsistent.
You don't believe
No,
people
listen,
should be
listen.
consistent.
The whole,
Okay,
the
do you-
whole, you
No,
want to hinge
should
your
people be consistent?
Okay, are you still
Should
holding-
people be consistent?
No, you're trying to change the topic.
No, no,
We can-
should
No,
people-
should people be
You
consistent?
want us to be
We can
consistent.
go on
No,
from
no, no.
there, dude. Just,
Then you
just-
don't have a debate. You
No,
can't
okay.
debate if you don't believe people should be consistent and follow your arguments.
It's just
We
the
do
standard-
believe
don't
that.
have an argument.
Okay,
You
look,
can't
just
debate.
to
Standard
clear things
precept.
up.
Vegan
Look,
Ken says they
look,
do believe that. Let's
just-
Yes,
to
it
clear
is
things
standard
up,
precept,
look,
and that's why I do it. Because
just-
you can't answer it.
just to clear things up, I think Isaac and I both agree that we should be logically consistent, but that's a
Right.
completely different question over whether or not
It's
something
not.
is logical.
Yes,
Why
that's
can't-
the
why
right
can't we
framing.
talk
When,
No,
when
it's
you
not.
say
Why
one
should
second,
you be
when
logically
you say it like
This
that,
is basic
when-
retard philosophy
Wait,
101.
wait,
it isn't.
wait. When Richard, when you say it like that, that is the right framing to give it, right? So the question of whether a given thing is logical is separate from the question of whether you should be logical. And if
No,
you
it's
say
not.
otherwise,
No, it's not.
okay, I don't think any logician would agree with you that those claims are identical.
It doesn't matter. That's an appeal to authority, dummy.
No, I'm not
No,
saying.
it's
I'm not
not.
saying therefore it's true. I'm just saying how the hell, like, do you have some alternate logic?
Why are
or
you bringing
what-
that in?
what are
It
you-
has nothing to do with the point. It doesn't matter how many logicians claim this or that.
No, I'm just pointing
This
out.
is a question of abstract logic.
Yeah, no, I'm just establishing that you're saying something that's
Okay,
that's like
I
radically.
don't, it doesn't
to us.
matter what you think
Yeah.
philosophers say.
Okay,
listen,
so
irrelevant.
would you acknowledge that what you're saying is radically divergent from the consensus among logicians? Because
Yeah,
logicians
because
will
I
not
come, from a
tell you.
school of I come from a school of philosophy that's not in line with most of the radical materialist logicians out
just
there.
like how,
Okay,
just
you know
like how
what?
veganism is
You're-
radically out of line with how most people believe we should behave ethically and morally. But
Oh,
that
yeah,
doesn't
well,
mean that we
actually-
can calm that. We can't claim that. I wouldn't use that as an argument because it's dumb. But you can.
Well,
though, I
well,
guess.
Okay,
Well,
I'd
wait,
actually
wait.
like. I'd actually like an explanation for why, even in the abstract, you can conflate these two things. That
Yeah, that's
logic.
because there's no such thing as purely abstract, and you can read
Well,
Heidegger
yes,
about
there
that.
is.
No, there's not.
Yes, there is. Okay, look.
No, there's
you,
not.
You can't. Look,
I'm
these are
loving this,
two-
by the way. This is
These are
beautiful.
two
This is
complete.
fucking beautiful.
Whether something is logical or not is completely different than whether you should follow a long logic.
Obviously,
Two
No, it's not.
completely
obviously
different-
not the same question, Jay. They're
Yeah,
obviously
two
not
complete-
the same
I just
question.
want to.
I know
just
that
want
they're
an
not the same
explanation.
question. I said
Wait,
they
no,
entail.
no, you're now they're not.
Do you
the
understand
same
what
question.
entail is?
Now they're
Do you
not the
understand
same
what entailment
question.
is?
Wait, are they the same question? Yes or no?
Do you understand what entailment?
Are they
is?
the same question? Yes or no?
They're two
Are-
different statements about the same thing.
Okay, but are they the same question? Yes or no?
They're not the exact same question. They're grounded the same
Thank
way.
you.
That's my whole point.
Okay, wait, no. If they're not the exact same question, they're
Now,
not the
see,
exact
you're
same
here to
question.
squibble over words, and you don't get like the actual point about
This is their
metaphysics.
game. This
How
is their
grounded
game, Jay.
justifies something.
This is how they play.
No.
This is how they do it, and
I
they
know,
actually
this
do
is what-
convince
this
some
is how it
idiots.
works.
Jay, the way that you made the claim that this is a question of metaphysics or by metaethics was by saying that those are the same question, and now they're not the same question.
Do you
So
understand
why-
that something
Yeah.
can be something can you can speak about something at the same time as speaking differently about it, right? Two different ways of looking at the same question. That was my whole point about knowledge, ethics, and metaphysics all speaking about the same thing. They all presuppose the other one. That's my view. I know you don't believe that, but I'm saying so.
I-
In my look,
I don't even have a view
just
on that. I don't
just
mind
listen.
that. That's not a crazy claim. That's
Okay,
different.
but look.
from something else. Yeah.
no. If I talk about how we ground ethical claims, in my mind, it is absolutely connected to metaphysics and it's absolutely connected to ethics. So in my mind, it is
Sure.
the same. It is the
Of course
same
it is.
question. It's the same issue, right?
No one disagrees with that. No one disagrees with
You
that.
just
That's a
said it's
different
not the same question, right?
And
I'm
don't
trying
you
to
guys
explain.
deny
that.
metaphysics? Don't you guys deny in your worldview?
Wait, no,
We're not
no.
denying
In your
No,
worldview.
I don't. What I really don't like in a philosophical discussion is when someone says, "You just said X is the same question." Jay, what did I just say are the same? Are what am I questioning? What two statements am I questioning whether they're identical or not?
Are you
Okay,
serious?
so I'll tell them.
Are you
I'll tell
kidding
them.
me?
This is like talking. You're like talking to
Yeah.
a woman, dude. This is like arguing with a woman. Is what this
Yeah,
is.
Okay.
I'm
We're,
not
we're like
arguing,
a
obviously.
man who identifies as a woman.
Yeah.
I
So-
know it's not an argument
Yeah.
A man who
Okay.
identifies as a
because
soy
you
boy.
can't
then
have
maybe-
a logical argument with a woman.
Okay. All right. Very
Hate
powerful.
speech. Hate speech.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell my wife she's
So-
gonna hate you.
So no, as you have kind of acknowledged and then backed off of, and then kind
No,
of acknowledged
no,
and then backed off of,
I'm not-
they're
I'm
the
not
same question.
waffling.
And if
I'm-
they're not the same
Listen.
question,
I'm
if
not
they're
waffling. I'm trying to tell you that there's such a thing as entailment. So something necessarily entails something else. So in my mind, you can talk about ethical claims, and in a sense, when you're talking about them, they're distinct from metaphysics. But when we're talking about how they're grounded, which is what I'm here to debate, they're not distinct. It's all the same question. So it's a very simple explanation I'm
Okay,
giving.
yeah. But the question: do you think that whether your ethical system is logically consistent hinges on metaethics as opposed to logic?
I don't see them as ultimately separate questions. You can speak about them separately, but they're not ultimately separate questions. It's that
Okay.
simple, dude.
What is necessary for the statement P and not P to be a contradiction, other than an assumption of logic?
That you're supposed to follow the force of logic.
No, you
force
don't
of the
have to.
argument.
No.
You don't have to. You don't know. That's an error, right? You don't have to
No,
say.
it's not.
Wait. You don't have to say that you should be logical in order to say, given that someone is logical. It's sorry, I'm getting a bit lost here. Oh, fucking phone! That's got to turn off. Why does this?
No,
person keep
I
calling?
understand that when
Yeah.
you're asking that
The-
question, you're not talking ethics. I understand that. You're talking about
Okay.
pure logic, right?
What? Sorry, I just want to be clear. What question are you thinking I'm talking about there?
When you're asking the question about the law of non-contradiction, you're saying that that's pure logic. It's not a question. It doesn't have to do with ethics, right?
No, that's not quite what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the question of whether your ethics are logically consistent, that's just a question of logic. It's not a question of meta-ethics. All that's required in order to say P and not P is a contradiction is logic.
No, and this is where we diverge.
Given logic, is P and not P a contradiction?
I've started this out by talking about situations where you have circularity at grounding fundamental claims.
But
Okay,
but can you not
circularity
talk
is different
around
than
the
contradiction.
question? Can you
Correct.
not talk around the question, and can you just
I'm not talking around it. This is very important for my worldview.
okay?
I'm not talking around it.
So given logic, P and not P is a contradiction, correct?
You see, but I don't start there. I don't start with pure logic. It's not possible.
I didn't ask where you start. I said, given logic, P and not P is a contradiction.
I'm not
correct?
here to say given logic. I'm here to ask about logic itself. I'm here
Okay,
for the
but-
meta
but-
questions.
Okay, but saying I'm not here to what? That's you not answering, right? So the
No,
question.
it's not. No, it's not. I'm here
Okay,
to
so
talk.
that- so-
meta
okay, so then
issues.
just okay. If it's not you not answering, then I can't. I don't understand what your answer is. I'm asking you. Given logic,
You have a worldview that doesn't at all justify meta level questions. Mine does. That's what I'm here to do, is to expose that.
no. What I'm trying to find out is, in order to say P and not P as a contradiction, all you have to assume is logic. Surely you agree with that. I mean, What else could
Does
be necessary?
does logic operate without human beings instantiating those arguments?
No, 1 second. What you're trying to, the question is not whether you should accept logic. Okay,
I didn't say about should. I said do human beings instantiate logical claims?
Do we? See. The thing is, I want to answer that because it's interesting, but I also don't want the question to not get.
Yeah, I know you don't want to go anywhere. You don't
So
want to
the
go
thing is,
anywhere.
like, why can't we just have a
conversation?
conversation where we actually
Yeah,
answer the
so-
questions, or we can actually
This
move
is why you
forward and have an
can't-
interesting
you can't be
conversation?
talked with. You
Wait,
act like a
wait.
computer, dude.
I know, like, why are
Can
you so
you
afraid
answer-
to appear
wait,
like
wait.
you're not superior? Why don't you just relax and have a fucking
That's just an
conversation?
add-on. That's not an argument. That's not an
That's
argument.
not an argument. It's just an add-on. Let me just interrupt one more time. Not an add-on. Okay.
No, wait. It's
Fucking
not an
A,
argument.
man.
Okay,
This is so boring. Just
wait. Okay,
circles.
then leave, dude. Okay, so
No, I
wait.
like watching you squirm, boy.
Look, dude, I'm here to talk meta level stuff. You're not. That's what it amounts to.
But in order to say P and not P is a contradiction, you just have to assume logic. Yes or no?
I already explained this for the first hour, and that yes, there is a law of non-contradiction. And I started asking a different question, like what happens when the sophists who question Aristotle, they question the law of non-contradiction, right?
How is that relevant? What?
Because it's
so
a
just-
it's a
just to be
meta
clear, Your answer.
it's a meta
answer is
ethical,
yes,
meta
though?
logical question.
Okay, but just to be clear, your answer is yes. The only thing that's required in order to say P and not P is a contradiction is logic, right?
No,
Given-
because
Okay,
these
let me
things don't
put it-
operate on
sorry,
their own.
Okay,
No,
let me-
they
let
don't
me-
operate on their own.
okay. Let me put it this way.
You're a human being who instantiates this.
Yes, but given logic, P
So
and
it
not
assumes
P
you.
is a
It assumes
contradiction.
you. It assumes you arguing these things.
Wait, but given logic, P and not P
I'm
is
not
a
going with the
contradiction.
given. You keep wanting me
No,
to say.
I'm not
given logic.
asking you to go with the given. I'm saying, I'm not asking you to affirm logic is a given. I'm saying, given logic, P and not P is a contradiction. It's not that you need some other thing in order for P and not P to be a contradiction. You
We
just need
all know
logic.
about the law of non-contradiction, right? We all know about that. So
Okay,
why,
so
why do you keep repeating it?
well, because when I'm trying to talk about the consistency of your ethical system and saying that the consistency of the system is not a question of meta ethics, it's a question of
It
logic.
is.
You
Should arguments be
Yeah,
consistent?
you try to go.
Should arguments be consistent?
Wait, you try to go to should you accept logic? But the question
Yeah, the
of-
argument assumes that you should be consistent.
Yeah, but
Your
the
argument assumes it,
yeah,
whether you want
No,
it to or
it
not.
doesn't.
But the question
it does.
of the question of whether you should accept logic is a separate question from the question of
separate but
whether a
related.
given.
That's what I've argued the whole time.
Yeah,
It
yes,
assumes
it's,
it.
I don't
It necessarily entails it. Do you understand necessary entailment?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
look.
do, but yeah.
Right.
Look, I want to point out like an issue with like your reply so far, Jay. You can like correct me if I'm wrong or anything, or respond back. When Isaac says that you don't require meta ethics for logic, but if you're going to make the
Wait, don't
if
say
you're
it
going
like
to
that.
claim, sorry, sorry, I
You
mixed that
guys
up. You
can't
don't
even make
need
your claims straight.
sorry, you don't need logic does not require meta ethics to be logical. But if you're going to make the claim that you should follow logic, then
Richard,
that is
Richard,
that is meta-
I want to hear your objection to him, but the framing that you gave that was the good framing of this is the question of whether you should be logical the same thing as the question of whether a given thing is
yeah.
logical.
Sorry.
Yeah, I already
I-
answered this
it's kind
like
of
10 times.
no.
with what I
Listen,
said with
listen.
entailment. It entails
Your
it.
reply. Sorry, my problem with your reply to this, whether what Isaac just said, your reply to this, it doesn't actually directly answer the question. You're just saying, okay, well, if we ask whether or not we should follow whether or not we should follow ethics, that's a meta ethical question. That's not a direct response to whether or not we should follow ethics is different from whether or not we should follow logic is different from whether something is or is not logical.
Correct.
That,
yeah.
That's
Okay.
not a direct
Can
response.
I
That's
explain?
just
Can I
you-
explain once again that something can be different and related at the same time? Do we have a
That's-
problem
okay,
with that?
But
No
that's
one has-
not a.
yeah, no one has
we
a problem with
understand that things can be
Okay.
related, but the problem that we have is you're like just conflating this on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, but
Okay, let me restate it this way. Even though you're saying that you believe that it can operate on its own apart from meta ethical questions, I'm saying that I still believe and will argue that it necessarily entails it. It still necessarily entails meta ethics.
Okay. Okay. I
You
think
can,
I
you can
understand.
you can talk about pure logic or pure mathematics all you want. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with math theory, number theory, but even those things still assume that you're supposed to and should believe in them, follow them,
Okay.
et cetera, et cetera. You
Okay,
should be
I-
consistent.
I think I understand your position. So correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just going to phrase this in a way that maybe most people can understand. I think your position is that when we say something can be logical without it being tied to meta ethics, that still implies that we should follow along with logic. Is that basically
Correct.
what you're getting at? Okay. Well, our position is we're not suggesting that.
And I'm saying that that leads to a stupid conclusion. And so it proves itself wrong.
And Jay, can you clarify how that
How-
leads to
how
a
does that
stupid
lead-
conclusion, Jay? Why is that
Yeah.
self-contradictory, and why is maybe they don't agree, but let's go ahead.
Because nobody should accept your argumentation. When you come to a debate, it assumes that everybody is bound by the force of truth,
Right.
that you have to accept the argument, the logic. You have to avoid contradictions, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm not saying you have to avoid it. I'm just asking you to affirm.
You
it,
should,
right?
dude.
I'm just asking you to affirm. Okay, so
Oh, I should affirm it. I should affirm it. That's
Jay,
a lot.
when you say that
Thank
you
you
just
for
put words in my
conceding the
mouth.
point
You
for
just-
2 fucking
you just-
hours.
you
You
just
just
put
said
words in
I
my mouth.
should concede it. Thank you for conceding the point
No,
after
you
2
just
fucking hours.
you just put words in my mouth, right? So
You said
what
ought
we-
to. You ought to. You should accept it. You should affirm it. That's what you fucking said, dude.
okay, I don't know exactly how I phrased
You
myself,
just
but
said
that's
it.
Not, yeah.
You just fucking said it.
Okay.
2 hours on this shit.
Yeah.
Good
It's not,
God,
okay.
dude.
Okay. So
2 fucking hours.
okay.
I could be in a
Now,
sauna right now.
Wait. Okay,
Fuck.
then go for it, dude. So okay, what
pretty
we
warm.
started
You
out
just
with.
admitted the point. Thank
what
you
we-
after 2
what-
fucking hours.
No, you're trying to frame it like that. I don't concede.
You
this
just
at all.
said you should. You should accept your argument.
Jay, you're trying to nitpick
No, you
little
said it.
words.
It's not
You said it, you
nitpicking. This is the basis of
Okay.
your argument. It's not
Quit.
nitpicking. You guys.
Rewind and listen to the fucking
Okay.
chat, you nitpicky twit.
Okay, so
Ad hom.
where we started at the very start of the debate was that I told Tristan.
We don't have to.
that-
no.
Yeah, I don't.
Why do we need you to recap every 10 minutes? Why are you obsessed
We
with
don't need to
reframing?
fucking recap, dude. It took 2 hours to make this progress.
Richard is so much more fun to talk to. At least he'll make jokes
yeah.
about stomping babies and shit. Come on.
Okay.
You're just it's
Okay,
like talking to an
where-
autistic
okay.
mirror. Like a
Okay,
fucking
okay.
wall.
Okay. All right, not an argument. So where we started off, right, was Tristan. I talked to Tristan, and I said that the question of whether your
I'm not 10
ethical
years old. I
system
don't
is
need your
log-
recap.
Okay, then
I don't
then
need your
Jay,
recap.
okay,
Stop
okay, then Jay,
recapping.
okay, if
Stop
if
fucking
you-
recapping.
if you would like me to
No,
permanently
you just
stop-
said you should.
Yeah,
You
Jay,
said I should accept
Jay,
your
Jay, if you would like me to permanently stop recapping, then just demonstrate to me that you understand how I am viewing the conversation. Give me the recap so I know you're following.
You're not understanding the conversation, and you finally admitted that I should accept your arguments. That's what I was trying to say. the
You're,
whole
you're
time.
trying to capitalize on just me speaking like I normally speak. in
Oh, I
English.
just
I'm not-
spoke accidentally the argument that you've been arguing for 2 hours. It was accidental.
It's a
Backtrack.
very
It just-
Backtrack
Weasley-
quick,
it's
quick,
a
quick, quick,
very-
quick.
No, you say it's Weasley, but you're
just
trying to
lost the
constantly.
debate.
You think that
You just lost the
so-
debate.
So we no, not even remotely. So we use the
You
word
just
should.
lost the fucking debate, dude.
We use
Give it up.
we use we
It
use
took me 2 hours for you to say that I should accept your argument. That's how twit. That's how twit you
we
are.
use the
2
word
hour
we
twit
use,
power.
we use the word should, right? We use the word should regularly in common parlance.
Oh,
The
now
fa-
it's not
the
an
fact-
ethical question. I
the
spent
fact-
2 hours
the
to
fact-
get you to say should.
Wait,
You
the
fucked up
fact,
and said
the
it.
fact,
Okay,
the
look.
fact, the fact
You
that
fucked
I
up and said
say,
should.
the fact
You
that
said
I say,
should.
the fact,
You see, you
the
fucked up
fact-
and
Jay,
said
Jay,
should after
Jay,
2 hours.
like, dude,
fact-
Jay,
fact-
he's
The
Wait,
fact,
the
the
fact-
fact. Here, I'll
the
help you.
fact-
I'll help you, Isaac. The fact, the
Wait,
fact, the fact.
wait,
I'll help you, dude. I
wait.
got you.
The
The
fact
fact, the
that I-
fact, the
the
fact.
fact-
I'll help you, dude. I got
the
you.
fact
The
that
fact,
I
the
say-
fact, the fact,
the
the
fact
fact.
that the fact that I
The
say
fact,
should.
the fact, the fact,
the
the fact, the
that-
fact, the
the
fact, the
fact-
fact, the fact, the
the
fact,
fact-
the fact, the
the
Richard, you
fact-
got quick
the fact
fingers, dude.
that
You must
I say
practice.
should.
You must practice with
The
those
fact
fast
that-
fingers, Richard. Your fingers are
The-
quick.
the-
The
Okay,
fact.
the fact
The fact.
that I say should.
he can unclick the mute.
This guy's
That's
on a
fact-
the
I
Matrix
love you,
glitch,
Richard.
dude.
Wait,
It's a Matrix
okay,
glitch,
the-
dude.
the
Love
fact-
you, Richard.
The
the
fact,
that the
fact,
okay,
the fact, the
the
fact.
fact,
The fact.
Okay, so you
You're a Matrix.
Richard, join us. The
You're a
fact.
Matrix
The
glitch.
fact.
Okay,
The
guys,
fact, the
guys,
fact,
we're
the
actually
fact,
trying
the
to
fact.
listen.
I'm
We're
done.
actually trying to progress the argument,
I've got
and
other
you just
stuff to
keep
do today.
interrupting
I've got other
and
stuff
acting
Okay.
like children.
Okay.
So I've
Could
gotta
you
go
could you
on.
just let him speak
The-
and just explain his side, And then
No,
you
I'm
guys
fine.
get to
Dude,
do
he's
it.
been speaking
Stop
the whole
acting
time.
like
I've got other
10-year-olds.
stuff to do.
He's been
All he
speaking
does is
the whole
recap,
time, man.
and he
Okay.
just
He wants to
lost the-
recap the whole time. He
That's
just wants to
great.
deny
Okay,
the
well,
debate.
you know what? According to
Anyway,
Isaac,
thank you,
you're
guys. This was
misrepresenting
fun.
his position.
This was fun. Thank you, guys.
Okay, the fact that I say should because
Okay.
okay, well now okay, so if he's
So he
gone,
just cucked
I'm-
out of the
well,
debate.
well,
No,
one
dude,
second,
you
one-
guys,
one second.
you guys
It's not-
sit here the whole
Wait a
time.
second. Wait a second.
You guys
It's not
sit
fair
here
to.
playing
It's
these
okay.
fucking
One
circle
second.
games.
One
It's
second.
such a joke.
One second.
The fact that
Okay,
you want to
Tristan,
be
I'm
taken
going to back.
seriously.
Wait. I'm
You
going
guys
to back
want to be
out.
taken seriously.
Wait a second. Tristan, calm down, dude.
You so
Okay.
badly want to be
Now-
seen
wait,
as intelligent and serious.
Wait. Okay, so
Cute
if
sweater.
Jay's gone, So if Jay's gone, it's not fair for us to double team you. So what I'm going
The whole
going
thing
to
is
do
ridiculous in
make-
the first place.
Wait. So I'm just going to make a closing statement, and then I'll let you debate the rest with Richard. So one thing I'd say to Jay is that the fact that I say should at some point in the conversation, because it's part of common parlance, is not a concession on the point. So that's a ridiculous thing to say. Now, the overall structure of this conversation has been that initially, right off the bat,
Dude,
Tristan
We don't want to have
tried
you
to suggest
reframe
that
it.
the
You're going to reframe the whole
consistency
thing
of the
again.
Normative system
All right, dude.
relies on meta
Reframe the whole thing
I
again.
pointed
Tell
out
us all
in
exactly what
response
happened one
to
more
that,
time. Give us the narrative.
that
One more time. Give us the
question
narrative.
of consistency within your ethics is not a question of meta ethics. The only thing required for that is logic. Now, Jay attempted to say that somehow that is a question of meta ethics, and he did this by equivocating between two questions: whether you should be logical and whether a given thing is logical. Okay, and I'd additionally say Jay made two false claims. He claimed that I reframed.
Are you
my
done?
position
Are you
and
done?
provided
Because
no
we've been
evidence.
waiting for your closing
And,
statement since
he
you started
also
with your
claimed that the
masturbatory circular.
statements,
We've been waiting for your
you
closing statement
should,
since you started.
be logical,
We've been waiting for so
and
long for
that
this.
A given system
Shut
is logical, doesn't
Damn.
hinge on meta ethics, are the same statement, which are both false claims. So that's all I have to say, and I'll let you guys
Beautiful.
debate the rest. I'll
Beautiful.
still
Yeah,
chill
it was
out.
great watching you squirm. Good job, man. Enjoy your day.